Good afternoon and welcome to episode 12 of Community. I'm your host, Jules, and of course, we're joined by my co-host, Portia.
Hey, y'all.
So today is going to be a very exciting show. We have a lot to cover. We have many leaders from the education industry, I should say, or just from the field of education. Many of our leaders are here today with us from our area independent school districts, and they'll be our guests. So we're really excited about that. I'm excited. I'm wearing my Ruth Bader Ginsburg shirt because I'm excited that she has been released from the hospital and she's at home recovering and doing well. As you know, you may know, she was rushed to the hospital earlier this week, but she's now doing fine. So let's continue to cover her in prayer. And speaking of prayers, let's just make sure that we're covering everyone who is dealing with any type of illness or ailment during this time, especially with COVID-19 going around, and especially those who are at home but are recovering from COVID-19. That's one conversation that many people aren't having, is the impact of COVID-19 even after you've tested negative, what it can do and is doing to many people's health. And so we just want to be mindful of that. Portia, what announcements you have for us?
So first, as we're talking about COVID, we want to just acknowledge the passing of a pioneer here in the Houston and Texas state as a whole, John Bland, who passed away on last week. He was on the executive committee for the Houston branch of the NAACP, but he was also the vice president of the AFL-CIO of Texas. He helped integrate or desegregate some parts of Houston back in the day. He attended Texas Southern University. So it was a true civil rights and labor pioneer for our community. So we are deeply saddened by the loss of Mr. Johnny Bland on this past weekend. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his labor family, and of course his immediate and extended family. So our prayers and thoughts are with you all.
Yeah.
So we wanted to start there. Of course, you guys, we are a membership-based organization, so we are always asking and always pushing for you to be members. It's $30 for a year. So if you join today on July 15th of 2020, you'll be a member for just $30 until July 15th of 2021. Or if you want a deeper, more lasting, longer relationship with the association, like myself in July, we encourage you to become a lifetime member. So the association is doing some amazing things here in the Houston area and then on a national level as well. So we just encourage you, if you're interested in getting involved and you care about social justice, you care about the advancement of our people, please join our organization. You can go to our revamped website, our amazing revamped website, naacphouston.org, to join at a local level. And if you happen to not be here in the Houston area and you're looking for a unit or a branch close to you, you can always go to our national website, naacp.org. So please join us, ma'am and sir. We would love to have you. So to kind of shift a little bit, our national office is doing some amazing things. We just announced that we're actually having a national convention this year. So I'm super excited. It's going to be virtual. So it's the first of its kind. Our 111th national convention is going to take place August 2nd through the 19th. It's a little long, but basically the first week is going to be the 2nd through the 15th. So the first week is going to be like the Hollywood Bureau, like pre-screenings that we always do. And then the second week is going to get into like the nuts and bolts of the organization for the units and branches and individual members. So the registration is going to be $30 for adults and $20 for youth. The registration goes live on Sunday, I believe. I think it's going to be Sunday. Sorry, on Monday of next week. On the 20th, the registration goes live. I had to look at my camera, guys, or my calendar, guys. But that's when the registration is going to go live. So if you are a member of a local branch or unit, your unit secretary will be sharing that information with you shortly to be able to join in on the association's national convention. But you can visit the NAACP convention website to get all the updates and to download the schedule. Also today, the NAACP National Office launched a partnership or announced a partnership with CBS. So we're going to be partnering with CBS to do some programming. So it's unscripted programming, some documentaries, some things, the long-term partnerships. So some amazing things going on at the national level. So now we're going to be partnering with a huge broadcast company to bring content that is for us, by us, and all about us. So I'm super excited about that partnership that was launched as well. And then one more thing on the national level, the national office launched an effort with Beyonce, with the Bay Good Foundation, for small business, Black-owned small business impact fund is what they started. So the grants are available. The grant application is available on the national website as well. So we're just sending all y'all to the national website to see all the wonderful things that we're doing. So those applications are live right now. So you can go to the website and check out the qualifications and be able to apply for that small business fund or relief fund from Bay Good.
So what, 10 grand?
You know what? I don't know.
I believe it's a $10,000 grant, and you can find more information on Beyonce.com.
There you go. Houston's on, y'all. Houston's on. And then I just want to say one more thing, or a couple more things. So we have a free legal expungement clinic or effort going on with our legal redress. So we encourage you, if you have some legal concerns or legal issues, that you reach out to our legal redress committee. So that's legal redress at naacphouston.org. You can email them and reach out to them to find out more about the free legal aid and expungement services that we're offering. There's also a link to that on our newly revamped website, naacphouston.org. And then also we are trying to launch a COVID testing initiative. So we're in the infancy stages of launching that, but our own vice president, second vice president and criminal justice chair, Bishop James Dixon, his church, Community of Faith, is partnering with the COVID-19 Connects, and they're going to be doing a free testing. They have a free testing site at Community of Faith Church on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you have to pre-register, so you can visit the website. It is covid19connects.com, I believe, but I will make sure to drop that link in the comments. But there's several free testing locations all across the city, but we just wanted to call attention to that specific one because it is one of our NAACP members and officers that is hosting that at his church. So that is going to be Saturday at Community of Faith Church. They're located at 1024 Pinemont Drive over on the north side of Houston. And so we want to make sure that if you are in that area and you need to be tested for COVID, we want to make sure that we're stopping the spread and we're doing anything that we can to make sure that our community is taken care of, and really everyone in Houston is taken care of. So if you're in need of free testing, please visit that website, find a location that's near you, and get tested. Please, please, please get tested. I'm actually going to go on Saturday myself just to make sure. So we just want to make sure that we're covering everybody. And so get tested so we can stop the spread.
Yeah, and that's a partnership with Community of Faith, the Houston NAACP, Houston Area Urban League, and a few other community organizations. And what you're starting to see more and more of is for our, institutions, our civil rights and community organizations doing more combined efforts, and you can expect more of that. So that's really exciting to see this Saturday at Community of Faith. Thank you so much, Portia, for that information, and we'll see you shortly.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in once again. Please make sure you're sharing this broadcast. Share. We're going to give you about some loud car outside. We're going to give you like 8 seconds to share. So let's share this broadcast. This is some really, really good information concerning education. That's been the main topic for probably the last 10 days. Everyone has been concerned about back to school, and now we're seeing action around this issue. So our first guest, we did some shifting around here in our scheduling, but our first guest is, he's a good friend of mine, and he's actually the only gentleman on the panel, so I hope he sticks around this evening. is Daniel Norris, and he serves on Harris County Department of Education. So I'm bringing in Danny Norris. Hi, Danny.
Hey, July. How you doing?
You're muted. I'm good. No, you're good now. You're good. You're
okay,
good.
I'm just checking. I was like, wait a minute. Oh. All right. Yeah.
So happy to have you here with us. Okay. So I'm guessing you probably were in a meeting today, huh?
I was. Our board meeting was today. That's why I told you. I said, we usually get out within a couple of hours, but in case we were late, I didn't want you to think I left you hanging. So it's a possibility we can run over, but yeah, we made it out in time. So here I am.
Awesome. So before we get started, I just wanted to let people understand your organization. So what exactly is Harris County Department of Education? Because it's not an ISD, so to speak.
Correct. So when you hear independent school districts, originally Texas had county school districts. Mm-hmm. So we're actually the original school board for Harris County. We were established in 1886, I believe. So we're the original school board. All the independent school districts in Harris County are independent from us. Now we are the last of the county school boards in the state, actually. But what we do at this point, all the independent school districts have pretty much do their particular functions, but we work with all the school districts and we do a variety of services. We do in-school therapy, we do adult education, we have a number of Head Start programs. We do a lot of grants, and we're actually since this is COVID related, one of the things we recently approved in our board was a foundation. Our foundation approved grants, and a lot of school districts are applying for grants right now because a lot of them are scrambling to get their technology up to date to make sure they can do all this distance learning. So our real goal at this point is to fill in a lot of the gaps that a lot of school districts are not able to do. We have one of our schools that we have is Fortis Academy is for students with addiction issues. That's an area that not a lot of people have addressed, but it's open to everybody in the county. So any students that have any substance abuse issues, we have a program specifically for them to make sure that they are able to get the life skills that they need to succeed. So we do fill in a lot of places. We have 4 schools, mostly in areas that we have a couple of alternative programs, both for schools, for school districts that don't have a big enough program, and for school districts that just, even if their alternative program doesn't work, students have the right to an education. So we fill in all those gaps, and ultimately we make sure that we basically keep things very efficient for a lot of school districts. We save them a lot of money because if they were to go price themselves on the open market, it would cost a lot more. So when they work with us on a lot of the services we provide, like the therapy and all these things, we subsidize it with the tax rate, so they get under market value, so they can actually make sure that the school's money is going towards the most efficient method. So we do a lot of filling in. So I tell people anything from Head Start to adult education, everything in between, everything that's needed for the county in those spaces, that's what we do. So hopefully that helps enlighten people, because a lot of people when they hear about it, they think, oh, HISD is like, no, that we work with HISD, but in the other 20-something school districts in the county. But yes, we are the county school board.
Awesome. So y'all, it's almost like you all are the support system, or what I've been longing for. Y'all are the hug. Y'all give hugs to all the ISDs, right? Just really good support.
Yeah. So we definitely support the ISDs, and that's basically one of our biggest functions at this point. So we definitely, I mean, when people get a chance, if you check us out, that's what we do. We do a lot of things. We're the best kept secret, so to speak. But we basically we definitely work with the ISDs, and they definitely take advantage, and that's our purpose, is to make sure they're able to take advantage and ultimately save tax dollars by not having to spend so much money on the open market on a lot of these services we provide, and we're able to help in a lot of those spaces. So yes.
Cool. So you all, drop my phone. Support, but also, and it also is a financial savings to many of the ISDs. So you give support in that way too. Now I want to shift gears a little bit, looking at the big thing right now, which is COVID-19, coronavirus, and this strand of it. We understand. We've spoken with Dr. Joseph Gaith. He was a guest here. We did a special edition with him, and he shared with us that Houston has a very aggressive mutation of this COVID-19 strand, and now we're seeing that to be very true. Early on they were saying the heat would help deter it, and here we are, 100-degree weather for the past 3 or 4 days, and our numbers are up. We're really in the midst of it. How has COVID-19 shifted, not you guys' work, but how you all will support these districts for the 2020-2021 school year?
So a few different things. I mean, so a lot of the in-person services are going to, they're kind of up in the air right now because, a lot of school districts are making decisions on how are they even coming back in person or not. I know a lot of school districts are basically doing some kind of hybrid model where they're offering both in person for some students, and for the parents who don't want, they have virtual services. So it's really going to depend on how the school districts are going to operate. And so as they're deciding how they're going to operate, it's going to affect how we're able to operate as well on supporting those efforts for anything that's in person, and for all of the other services. Like I said, we've been trying to stay ahead on some of these things and try to be preemptive on a lot of our actions so making sure that like the foundation I mentioned earlier, like we trying to make sure we know that school districts are going to be having extra expenses that they probably didn't account for. So
yeah,
exactly, the technology is a real big thing because a lot of students don't have access to it. So that's one of the things our foundation, I believe, is going to be doing a lot of. From what I understand, earlier today in our board meeting, superintendent basically told us that it's been getting a lot of interest, and a whole lot of applications have gone in just for that, even though it's a brand new program as of this year. So it's everybody's looking for how do we do this, and basically we're just trying to fill in and help where we can. So but yes, it's making a big difference. The pandemic is definitely having an effect, and we're basically trying to as everybody else is figuring it out, we're trying to work with them and also figure it out on our own. And it affects the staff. And I think that's another thing too, is like, I think one of the things that was also mentioned at the board meeting by our superintendent was basically how do we implement staff coming back on camp in the administrative buildings. At some point, it's looked like basically it's going to be a staggered schedule to make sure there's not a dense population of people in the building or in certain spaces at a certain time. So there's a whole lot of, and this is going to be, I'm sure it's not just us, it's going to be all the school districts and administrations. The point right now, as far as we know, is to keep people apart and making sure that people wear masks where possible. So trying to implement all those things back in to make sure that our staff, and that includes teachers, administration, everybody stays healthy, because the last thing we need is that outbreak, especially.
So one thing that I'm an educator, and one of my concerns, even though I'm not in public schools anymore, I'm not K-12, is okay, you get them the technology, say the Chromebook, the students, but the Wi-Fi issue, that becomes an issue. I know there are some corporations like Comcast and I believe AT&T that do provide services for $10 or $15 a month if you're on free or reduced lunch.
Right.
Do you know, and I'm going to ask this same question to the other guests too, have you all considered maybe doing mobile hotspots using school buses? I know some districts around the country did that earlier this spring.
I haven't heard that specific proposal. I know that Wi-Fi is a problem for a number of students, and I know that has been the thing. And as a matter of fact, from what I understand, a lot of phone companies that's why a lot of them are giving extra data. They're giving data for free because they know people are using their phones really heavy right now for things like school and things like that. So the bus Wi-Fi is not anything that we had specifically. And another thing too, because one of the things too is that we're a little less localized than a lot of the typical schools. So like if you know elementary is typically within a mile or two from somebody's house, whereas with us we have schools that service certain sections of the county, which is a much bigger distance. So for us that would be a little tricky to be able to do that specifically. But with regards to how schools are doing, I know that has been a discussion. Both I've heard that both from school districts as well as congressional. I sat in a couple of town halls put on by like Congresswoman Lee and Congresswoman Garcia. I think particularly Congresswoman Garcia, that was one of the biggest things they were talking about, is making sure that, because since she services the east side, which tends to have a little bit less that tends to have some service issues. It's a big spread out area.
Infrastructure on the east side.
Exactly. So that has been definitely been up for discussion. I don't think anybody has any easy solutions yet. I think ultimately it'd be great to have like a city Wi-Fi or something like that. But as of now, I think it's still up for discussion. I don't think there's a simple fix as of yet for that particular issue.
All right. Well, I thank you for joining us today. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that the public understands about Harris County Department of Education?
Just to know that we're here, and one of the things that I enjoyed about one of the reasons I actually ran for the county was because it works with all the school districts, and I would love to see how we can continue to partner with the different school districts and figure out some of these issues. Right now, this is a major issue, but this isn't the only issue. And I think ultimately what I would like to see more of is how we help solve problems on the front end, like we're doing in a smaller scale now, but continue to do that and work with both the school districts and the legislature on figuring out some of these issues. Hopefully it won't be pandemic big, but all these other issues that we'll have to get back to once we focus after we address COVID-19. There are other structural issues that we need to address in education, as a lot of us know. So continue to work with those in this space. So yeah, I don't know if that. Hopefully, if anybody has any questions, we usually meet the third Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. Our board meetings are in the afternoon, which is a little different than a lot of school districts. So you could always attend a board meeting. If you have any questions or if you have any issues with education in general, just let me know. I would gladly love to partner up with anybody who's serious about education in this space.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I have an email that I'll be sending you because I do need your input on a project that we're doing at the NAACP next week. So thank you so much for joining us. And as always, have a great evening and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All righty. That was awesome to hear from him. So hopefully you all took something from that. Portia, what did you think?
Okay, I get off mute. I did not really fully understand what the Harris County Board of Education did. So I was happy that Danny could come and explain that a little bit more. I wasn't completely sure that if they were like a school district of their own, if they had schools, or if they worked with, the actual school district. So that was great that he was able to clarify that. And I'm happy that they're filling in the gaps. I saw that Kirkland, one of our young adults, listed that he helped get a grant from the Harris County Department of Education to help with the school. So that's great that they're filling in the gaps, and I hope that they're able to fill in more gaps with the technology, being able to give resources to educators, whatever they can do to kind of help ease the stress of really just the upcoming school year for everybody, for students, parents, and for administrators and teachers as well. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do. And I'm excited to hear from our other guests to see what's really going on with all of these school districts. I know the plans came out today. The plans have been coming out. I've had the opportunity to look at the HISD plan. I've looked at the Spring Branch ISD plan. I saw that Fort Meade is going 100% virtual. So I know we have some representatives from a couple of those school districts, and I'm interested to see what they have to say and like really what the behind the scenes kind of clue to all the stuff that's coming up for the school year.
All right. Well, We're getting ready for our next guest, and we have I believe it's Doctor. I may be mistaken, but I'm gonna say Doctor. She's a leader. I'm gonna be like old people. When you're a leader, old people call you Doc. So everybody is Doc.
Yeah.
So we have Darlene Bro. Oh gosh, I should have asked this before the show. Y'all forgive me. Blame my head, not my heart. But she's coming from A-Leaf ISD. So Portia, we'll see you soon, okay? Hi, I apologize. Could you pronounce your last name?
You are correct. It's Bro. It is Bro.
Okay.
Right. And speak that doctor into existence. I am finishing up my last 2 chapters as we speak. I will
wow.
Speak it into existence.
Yes. Okay. So we're joined by Dr. Darlene Bro of A-Leaf ISD. And I'm so excited to meet you virtually. Can't wait to meet you in real life.
That's right.
We share AKA.
Yes.
We also share a dear friend, Tiffany Thomas, who is a city councilwoman here in Houston. So thank you so much for joining us. Very excited to hear from you as A-Leaf led the Houston area with declaring what they were going to do. And a lot of times people forget about A-Leaf. And you can't forget about A-Leaf. So tell us about your district. Let the people understand what is the makeup of your district.
Well, a little bit about A-Leaf is that we sit right in the middle of the international district. So we're tucked right in there, kind of between HISD and Fort Bend and Katy. And we have about 64,000 students, and we have over 90 languages spoken in our district. So we are very, very diverse, and really love that about A-Leaf. I've lived here for over about 24, 25 years. And so A-Leaf is one of those hidden gems that people often just forget about. So I'm here to hopefully make sure that we won't be forgotten about. And having Councilwoman Thomas in office has really helped out, because she continues to remember the A-Leaf area and A-Leaf ISD.
Okay, thank you. So first question, what was it like coming with this decision what was the conversation like?
Well, it's interesting, because it's times like these when leaders need to step up, and we need to be bold in our decisions. We make sure that you're having data. I'm a firm believer in data to support your decisions. And interesting, Danny Norris was just on, and he's a trustee with Harris County Department of Ed, and I actually work for Harris County Department of Ed. I'm the director of the Research and Evaluation Institute there. And so data is critically important. So when you're constantly looking at the data, and specifically in A-Leaf, how our numbers are rising, there just comes a time when you have to say, look, we are struggling here. The numbers don't look good. So this is what we're going to do. And we're going to advocate for ourselves. And we're just going to put it out there. And I think many other districts were thinking the same thing. And I just truly believe that when A-Leaf stood up, we stood out, and everybody chose to say, you know what, let me do the right thing. We had to look out for not only our students, but our families, our staff, and we just felt like that was the right decision to make.
Okay, so going virtual. So I'm an educator, I get it, but some people are like, well, I work, and how's this going to affect me and my kids? I can't go to work and they're at home, or I'm not equipped to teach my kids. What infrastructure will the district put in place to assist those families?
Right. Well, we had a COVID-19 COVID-19 task force that looked at so many scenarios. And so we know that we have families out there and parents that are saying, look, I'm working. This is difficult. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to do this. So one of the things with going full-time virtual, you know, we're starting school actually about 3 weeks early, August the 6th. So in real time, had it been last year, we wouldn't even be in school at this time. So it's almost like a jump start, you know, to when we would normally start. But also we put so many systems in place to not only dispatch and monitor the virtual learning, how many of our students are logging on, who needs help, but we also, in phasing back in, we know that we have a population of students that just needs to be in school and needs that face-to-face. So we know that in phasing in, we have those families that say, I need some help here, I can't do it. So those are the ones that are reaching out to us, and we're trying to connect with as well, and saying, okay, well, this first group, we're going to phase those in, you know, they will be the first group to phase in. So those are, and we are completely aware that some students just don't do well with that virtual learning. So, and we also know that once we phase those students back in, there's going to be some catch up that needs to be done.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So what challenges have you all seen, I guess, within your staff? Most people think of faculty, right? When they think schools, they think of the actual teachers, but they don't really take into account the staff. What are you all doing to support staff members within your schools, within your schools, in terms of dealing with COVID-19 and its impact?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a couple of different things. For instance, we have so many resources on our website, number one. So they can definitely go there and get lots of information about if there's testing or what, you know, or kind of what's going on, you know, what's the latest news. We have been communicating via, you know, Facebook, all of our social media platforms. We even have a podcast that we're putting out there. But the one thing that we're really proud of is that, you know, we have counselors for every campus, but we also have a very robust mental health team that has licensed mental health staff and a very comprehensive counseling program. So and that's not just for teachers, that's for every staff available. And we're making sure that we're keeping a pulse on everybody. If we don't hear from you, someone's reaching out to you. But we really want to encourage everybody, whether our staff, students, teachers, to take advantage of all the ways to communicate with us. If we don't know you're struggling, if you need something, we can't fill that need. So I guarantee if you can reach out to one of us or the leadership at your campus or the district, we can definitely meet your needs.
Awesome. And I put up your website there, so if people want to check that out, aleafisd.net.
.net. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take that down. So thank you for that. So with the infrastructure, just like I asked Danny about the equipment, Chromebooks, laptops, Wi-Fi, what plans are in place to assist families in that regard?
So we have purchased and given out thousands of Chromebooks and technology and hotspots so far, and we have more to give. And so again, we are consistently reaching out to our students and our families, because guess what? One of the things that people say, do you have access to a device, a smartphone, tablet, or whatever? Well, number one, I don't know about you, but trying to type up a paper on a smartphone doesn't work. You know, and so it's not that easy. And if you have three children, but you only have one device in your home, that can also be a challenge, especially if you have a parent that's also working at home. So we're trying to make sure that when we're reaching out to families, we want to know the entire need so that we can make sure that we're supplying them with that. Now, did it happen as quickly as we would have liked it to? Of course not. Everyone had to kind of pivot on their heels and get things done. But trust and believe we have those resources available. And it's really just about letting us know and connecting with us. If we have not reached out to you, we don't know that you have those needs. So we encourage parents to connect with their teachers and their principals there at their campuses, or even the leadership there at the administration building, to let us know that you need that you need us and that you need some resources.
All right. So y'all done it all. I'm looking at my list and listening to what you're saying. It's like you all have done it all. This is amazing.
Well, we
being
really,
so proactive. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned being very proactive. That's another thing that I really love about our school board and the leadership there in our district, is that we really want to do what's right. And you started with saying tell us a little bit about your district. And I said, we're a very diverse district. Over a year and a half ago, we really looked at our students and how diverse we were. And we wanted to know, okay, are we truly meeting the needs of all of our students? Do all of our students have access? So over a year ago, we started the process of creating an equity policy. And we had no idea that this pandemic would hit, but it has truly shifted the way that we look at how everyone has access to all of our resources. And so, not just the pandemic, but everything that's going on with George Floyd and making sure that, and so being proactive over a year and a half ago with creating this, literally going through an entire audit of our processes and our practices, and making sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students who are living in, maybe in poverty, who don't have access. What about the food? So every time we're talking about something, we're looking at it through the lens of equity. And we are so excited that we have literally gone through that process, and the work that was done is really guiding our thinking, our planning, as we speak.
Awesome. I'm so excited. So tell us, before we wrap, tell us where people can get more information if they want to contact you directly, maybe if there's an email or social media account that they can contact you with.
Sure. You can always reach me via email, and it's darlenebro@aleafisd.net. You can reach me there. I am on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. So Bro Darlene at Twitter. I don't know.
Give me that email again.
darlenebro@aleafisd.net.
I'll just add that in here.
Okay. And let me look at it. And it's at Bro Darlene for Twitter.
Okay, at Bro Darlene for Twitter. Someone write that in there. We thank you so much, Dr. Bro. You've been awesome explaining how you all are being proactive, your plans, and all of this information, all these resources are available on your website. And we appreciate it. Thank you for taking out the time to meet with us. And we will be in touch. I'm sure there's some partnerships. We have our education chair who will be joining us. So if you can stick around, I'm going to bring her in so she can speak with all of you. She'll be in at 5:30. We're going to bring in Fort Bend ISD next. But thank you so much.
Wonderful. And if I just say one more thing that about we are having free COVID testing. I don't. It's a Tiffany Thomas in conjunction with A-Leap ISD. It will be at our A-Leaf Crump Stadium from 8 to 4, and those dates are July 13th through the 17th, the 20th through the 25th, and the 27th through the 31st. And it's a mobile testing, mobile COVID testing. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that because we're also partnering in that, giving that resource as well.
Okay.
And
we'll get the flyer and be sure to post that. I'm sure Councilwoman Thomas will send that over. So, but thank you so very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, wow. I'm feeling so good about the school year because these leaders, they really have some really strong plans. Next, we have another one of my sorors. I'm really excited. No, we didn't do this on purpose. But she's special to me because we're in the same chapter. And I think of her like a big sister. So Addie, bring you to the screen with Fort Bend ISD. How you doing, hon?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Got that glow.
You know, good for you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know you've been with Fort Bend ISD. Is this your second or third term?
This is my second term. This is my second term.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm really excited to have you join us today just to tell us about your district, the makeup of it, and what you all are doing for this 2020-2021 school year, because it's like none other that we've ever seen. So first, about Fort Bend ISD, tell us about the makeup of your district.
Wow. So the makeup of our district, you know, in 2015, we were ranked the country's leading county in diversity. And so, of course, that is represented in our children and our students that attend our schools. We have 78,000 students. We're about to build our 12th high school in a district. We're pretty large. We are the largest employer in Fort Bend County. We have over 11,000 employees servicing our students, yes, and our families in the district.
Oh,
so
wow.
We're definitely a pretty large school district. So lots of things.
11,000 employees.
11,000 employees, the largest employer of Fort Bend County.
Wow. Okay, so jump right into it. COVID-19 came in and was like, I'm here.
You know, the memes talk about Rona. Rona just came in and just threw us all off. Yeah, just threw us all off. And you know, one of the things about any district or as leaders, we have to be ready to pivot. And that's what Fort Bend ISD has done. We have pivoted. We have worked together with our superintendent to come up with a plan that is best for all of our children in our district and our families. I know this is a very hard time for everyone, even for myself. I still have a student that is going to school, and so we had our board meeting Monday night. That's our first board meeting for the month. So we are right on the heels of making these decisions for Monday night, and we consider ourselves leaders as well. And with that, I have to think about my own child, my own home. I also have to think about my friends, the family members, the teachers, the other students. And that's what Fort Bend ISD did. We took all that into consideration. And for the most part, when looking at what's best for our students, we have to take, number one for me, is our health and safety. Health and safety. Is foremost. You know, we have lots of different ideals that's going on right now in the news and from different leaders, but we all know that at the end of the day, it's really about what's going to be the best, what's going to be the safest way for us to educate our children. Education is definitely high on our list of activities, but we can't do that successfully if we're not doing that safely.
Awesome. So, infrastructure. Fort Bend ISD is thought of as being one of the wealthier districts, but there are always going to be needs. So in terms of infrastructure for those in need in your district who may need access to, say, a Chromebook or laptop or Wi-Fi, what resources are in place to assist those families?
Oh, absolutely. Now, we get that all the time. Fort Bend ISD, you all are a pretty rich district, but we have different variants of needs, just as we have in population in our district. And one of the things that we did, especially right off the bat back in March, we went out and decided, hey, we need to contact our students and determine who needs support. At the end of the day, we can't leave any child behind. We've partnered with AT&T to give free internet, to give free hotspots that open up around our county for our students, as well as other different types of partnerships with internet providers. We're also giving out free lunches. I don't want to, we're going to talk a lot about education, but if the child isn't fed properly, the child is not going to be able to focus on their education. And so I wanted to make sure that you all are aware that we are still giving out free lunches and free breakfasts in Fort Bend ISD.
Oh, wow. Wow. That brought another thought to my head, but that's another show. I was going to talk about the history of free breakfast, but that's another show.
Okay.
That's another show. Okay, that's awesome. And do families come to the schools to pick those up?
Yes. So they come to the schools and they're able to pick it up. It's a grab and go, and they're able to pick those items up and prepare. They can get 2 meals. So it's very open for. Right now we have 10 schools that are still open and available for that service as needed. We also have of course, the fortbendisd.com/COVID-19 is an opportunity for anyone to get resources in our district about any needs that they may have. We also have mental health resources available. We have a hotline that you can call between, I think it's 8 and 4:30, Monday through Friday, to get services and support during this particular time. Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, they can find all the resources listed on your website.
Oh, yeah.
FortBendISD.com.
Yes, FortBendISD.com/COVID-19, specifically for COVID-19 resources. I do want to, when you go to our Fort Bend ISD website, you'll look at our board of trustees. I think it's in our about our district. You'll be able to get some of the latest and hear the latest conversations that the board is having around us going back to school. Our landing page has all the latest news and headlines around COVID-19 and how it impacts you and your families. So I encourage you all to go and check our website out and look at our website, especially around our meetings. Our meetings are Monday night. We have a meeting next Monday night as well. I encourage you all to go on our site and listen to the audio. Right now, we're offering the audio for that particular night, but you can get the full video from Zoom the day after in order for you to keep up with what's going on in the district.
Awesome. And that information for your website is there on the screen, FortBendISD.com/COVID-19.
That's correct.
All right. Is there anything that you want as a parent? You're a Fort Bend ISD parent and resident and leader. Is there some information that you want to just make sure that the community understands as you all navigate, or as we navigate this issue as a community at large?
So, interesting enough, right before we came on this show, I read a post from one of my fellow board members, and her post really sums it up for me as well, is that when we're making decisions, we're not making decisions based on politicians. We're looking at our health officials and to help us guide us and navigate us through this particular time. So know that every last one of the board members at Fort Bend ISD are making sure that they do their due diligence when making the decisions for our children. Our children are not going to go back to school right off the bat. We're actually going to do online learning. And if you all notice that one of the opportunities, I'm going to go back, one of the opportunities that we had, and a lot of school districts were wondering and waiting for TA to provide guidelines, was were they going to fund our public schools? And so even with that, we made a decision whether or not they were going to or not, we were going to make a decision that we are not quite ready to send all of our kids to school on day one. And so with that, we are going to do a phased-in approach, and especially focusing on our special educational students, some of our specialized CTE students. Those will be the kind of our first phase of students that will come into our buildings when we open up. I want to be clear, when we open up, because what we didn't do on Monday night was we did not approve our calendar. And the reason for that is that we want to be able to be flexible enough to listen to our leaders, our medical leadership in our county, and decide whether or not, our next steps for our school-age children. So I just want to make sure people know that we are doing our due diligence, and we're just not sitting on the sideline and watching things happen. We are parents as well, and so this impacts us as well. And so, yeah, we're here to support and make sure that all of our children are successful. I want to make sure that we talked about Monday night, is the equity that we're going to have to make sure that's happening, because we all know that the least of us, when we are not serviced properly, we can get behind. And so while we are concerned with all the students in our district, I want to make sure that those children that need us the most don't get left behind.
Right.
During this COVID-19.
Yeah, and that's so very important, because that's so easy to happen.
Oh, it's very easy to happen. It's very easy to happen. And I say this publicly. My child knows that I use him as an example. He's a special needs child and has, his own challenges. And so we have to work through that personally. And with that, I have to make sure that he doesn't get left behind. Parents, so there's all kinds of things going on. We have teachers. They have to go back to work. They're concerned about the certainty of the workplace when they go back in. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to be hiring, I think what they call them, maybe safety monitors or aides, where our teachers aren't going to have to balance both teaching as well as keeping up and monitoring all those safety mechanisms. So that's one of the things that we're doing to help and support our teachers in our schools. We also we're going to be educating our teachers as well as giving them classes around online learning, because we all know one of the reasons why we're starting with online learning is that if the trend continues to happen and we have to pivot, we want to make sure everybody has the right foundation from day one. Versus what happened in the spring was we're all trying to scramble and trying to figure out, well, how do we do this? If we start on the same playing ground from day one, when we have to pivot or if there's a need to pivot, we can do that, and we can do that successfully. And that's going to mitigate a lot of the risk of us of any gaps in our learning environment through that process. Because we had to take a couple of weeks off to school during the springtime just to make sure that we were able to service our students for the rest of this past school year.
Yeah.
We don't need that to happen this year.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Stick around. We're going to bring you in with Dr. Shabazz, who serves as our education chair for the Houston NAACP. And I'm really excited to hear from her because she loves education, honey.
All right.
So I
know my twin sister.
That's your twin sister.
That's my twin.
Your birthday twin.
That's my birthday twin.
So we can hear from her, and you all collectively can discuss. So I'll see you shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Portia. This is good. This is really good.
So good. I really I was happy to hear from A-Leaf. I'm not a native Houstonian, so A-Leaf to me, I get it, I know where it is. But to understand how big it was, I didn't realize A-Leaf School District had 64,000 students in it. So I'm happy that we're hearing from some of the school districts that you don't necessarily hear from. Like, we live in Houston, so it's all about HISD. So I'm happy to hear from some of the outlying school districts that don't necessarily, like, we don't want to forget about their students, those parents, and those administrators and educators as well in those environments. So it's great that we're being able to hear from, some of our small but mighty Houston area school districts today. So.
Right. And that's important because both of us are from out of state. We have people who move to Houston. Thousands of people move here weekly.
Right.
We're a fast growing city. Speaking of which, make sure you all complete your census.
We're only at 57% in the state of Texas, 56.5% in the city of Houston. So please.
But what's important to understand is when you move to Houston, yes, we have Houston ISD, but we have other ISDs in our city that are literally in Houston that people need to understand. Texas is very unique in how we do things. So this has been very informative and exciting to hear. I see we do have a comment. Someone is asking, now's the time for districts, I'm going to put it on the screen, for districts to begin training their faculty and staff in online platforms. Coretta, you're correct. And if I'm not mistaken, most of the districts have indicated that they are preparing for the onboarding for the faculty, so that all the infrastructure. So right now the focus is infrastructure, making sure that the technology is working correctly. Then you train the teachers or the instructors, and then they'll have their planning period, and then school will start. So you're absolutely correct. And I'll just take the liberty in answering that because I am an educator, and I'm seeing how that is working in the higher ed, how it's working in higher ed. And this situation, there's not a big difference in how that has to flip over, because not everyone in higher ed has the experience in teaching online courses. So we too have to train our faculty to familiarize them with online platforms, getting them comfortable with how the technology works. So you're absolutely right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, just like Addie said, they don't want to have to stop again. So they want to make sure that all of the bugs and the fixes that need to be done from the spring are all taken care of, and the platform is ready to go bigger and better for the fall semester. So,
yep. And Coretta, thank you. Coretta says she teaches in HISD. We are waiting for HISD to join us. Mrs. Daniels had a prior engagement, but she will be joining us. So hold tight so you can hear from HISD as well. So without further delay, I am going to bring in Dr. Shabazz. And hi, lovely.
Well, hello there. How are you?
Good, girlfriend. Good to see you.
Good. Well, you timed this perfectly, because I'm a wife too. So I cooked dinner while I was waiting. And so I might get a few brownie points for that. But anyway.
I'm coming by to get a plate. Is anything left?
Girl, you don't want none. You don't want none. I'm not a cook. And in fact, I have a sign on my stove that says I hate to cook. So,
goodness.
Okay, but I will get a meal on the table. But
you will get a meal
right home about.
I've been by your house when you were getting ready for a gumbo situation, so I know you'll get
all right. Well, that'll be cooked by somebody else.
Right. But I know you'll get the food. That's all I want is the food.
I don't miss no meals. You can tell that.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know you have a very busy schedule. You've led in education for the NAACP for quite a while. You're an educator. You've been with HCC. You're a Spelman graduate. You got your master's and doctorate over at Texas Southern University, the Texas Southern University. And so you're really committed to education.
Yeah.
And so we could not do this show today without having you here, because you have the experience, and with experience comes wisdom. So as you look at this situation, taking off your city council cap, but just as an educator, could you have imagined being in this situation as an educator, this happening when you were?
Well, this is still, I mean, this is like a sci-fi movie, right? And it's like, is this really, really happening? I find myself looking at TV and I see people talking and I'm wondering why they don't have on their masks, right? Because it's just so ingrained with the everyday life of seeing people with their masks. And so this is just such a fluid situation. And I really, really am glad to hear that most school districts thus far are going to take the virtual platform. Although I know that that's very difficult, but especially since a lot of our young people don't have the technology or the internet. And so we're doing everything we can, we meaning the school district as well as the city, trying to provide, we had a giveaway with CompuDot, and then I have been engaged with Bridging the Digital Divide, which is an organization that has put computer labs in various apartment complexes. I did one in Wesley Square, and we're trying to get one set up in the CUNY home.
Yay!
And so, and we're doing that not just for the students, but for the parents as well, because what I would like to see, I'd like to see the parents access online education as well. And so that, and also an opportunity to fill out job applications and be able to have an email and be able to check their emails on a regular basis. And so we're doing everything that we can in the city to provide those types of opportunities for apartment complexes, you know, in view of the fact that some don't have individual computers, even though that's something that we're moving towards. And also, I have provided some, well, they will be coming, some computers to some charter schools that are also in need because, you know, I believe children too. Yeah, I believe that children are children. And even though I'm not a strong proponent of charter education, I am a strong person for education, period. And so I don't want our children to be left out in any manner, and regardless of the setting that they're in. And so this is just, and I have to just caution people that we have to really, really be sympathetic and empathetic to those that are doing this, trying to implement this, because this is something that none of us ever imagined.
It's foreign.
And you know, it's foreign. We never expected anything like this to happen. And I believe that they're doing a great job. I mean, HISD was providing food and all manner of things to try to meet the whole child, the needs. And so I commend Dr. Lathan and the others, other school districts, you know, but I was really, really concerned, of course, when I started hearing that the schools were going to lose funding if they did not go back to face-to-face delivery of education.
Yeah.
And so I used to work in Fort Bend ISD and some years back, I worked at Willow Ridge High School, and I was a diagnostician. I test special ed children, right? And I was really, really concerned. But when I saw Dr. Dupree step out and say, we're going to start virtual. And then I think it started rolling along. And then I think that the governor and the commissioner had a conversation because, you know, in all reality, it just really doesn't make any sense to do this. You know, and you cannot have the mindset. It's, you know, the bad thing about it is it started out saying that this disease, this virus was for old people. And now we have found that it is not just for just old people. In fact, the numbers have gone down because the older people are really taking the precautions of staying home and staying out of certain situations where the young people are going out now, and now they are getting infected, and now some of them have died, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of put out there because that's the information we had, but it's changing rapidly. Yeah. And so, and then to think that the children would be going, and then they may pick up the virus, whether they're symptomatic or not, and then they take it back home. We'll never get rid of it if we keep transferring it back and forth. But anyway, you know, it is a challenge.
I see Dr. Daniels is in the studio. Kathy from HISD.
Kathy.
So I'm going to bring her into the screen, and I'm actually going to bring in everybody into the screen. So you all just hold tight with me.
You work your technology. Okay.
We have to learn. We have to learn. Okay, so she stepped away, but when she comes back, she'll see all of our happy, beautiful faces. There she is.
I'm here. Hi. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
I was trying to get the right light. Julie,
Okay, she's getting the right lighting.
Trying to get the right, turn the ceiling fan off, etc. But how's everybody doing? I'm running.
Yeah, so this is great. I know Addie has to run. I know Addie has to run.
Kathy wears a lot of hats too.
She does.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Were there any questions for Addie before she had to run? Because she has another engagement.
No,
and Addie did tell you we share the same birthday. I try to say she's older, but we all know better, right? But we both share the same birthday. But I'm just, you know, I don't really know where to start with a question, because certainly I worked with special ed children, and I know that their needs are so individualized, and that's why you have the IEP. I guess that's what they still call it. And so I know it would be very difficult to meet those needs. And so I don't know, you know, sometimes you have to take a situation and say, I'm going to make the best of it and teach them maybe even other things. You know, they might not necessarily be engaged in writing arithmetic. You know what I'm saying? But you have to certainly keep them moving forward and engaging them in so many other things. You know, and the family time is phenomenal. I mean, just unbelievable. And that, I think, is, you know, at the end of the day, that's going to be the best thing that comes out of this whole pandemic. The opportunity to actually engage with your children and families. Now, I do believe that at some point we can catch up. Children are very flexible, and I think that at some point academically we can catch up. But if I heard somebody last night say, but we'll never catch up if they don't get past this pandemic. In other words, if they don't survive. And so you have to weigh this out. And I can't really think of a question that I don't want to put you on the spot, birth twin, on anything, but
that's okay. I wanted to say something to that special education. That's one of the questions I had on Monday night, was making sure that as our kids go back, they have to be prepared for asynchronous and synchronous learning. And we're going to have to be Kathy, you can't hear me, Kathy?
Her mic's on? Okay. But can you hear? So
can y'all hear me?
I think she can hear you. I don't think she can speak. Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So did y'all hear anything I said? Okay, I'll start all. Okay,
we did,
good.
actually.
Okay, good. Okay, good. All right, good. So, all right. So, anyways, with special education is one of my main. That's my baby. That's one of the main reasons I ran for the school board. Is to make sure that our special education children are being serviced properly. And when I think about us having to go online learning initially, even though I believe that is the best thing for us to do, it's still a question of how do we service our students that need the most service in our district. And when you think about that, because now we're requiring that our students are sitting in front of a computer, looking at a teacher now, you know, they're going to be taking attendance. And so we have to take into consideration the time of the day, how long the day is going to be, what's that schedule going to look like, especially for those students. So there's still a lot of puzzle pieces that we still have to come up with. But what I know for Fort Bend ISD is that we have that as one of our forefront items in our mind when looking at the schedule for this year. And as I mentioned earlier, that's one of the reasons why we didn't even approve the calendar, because we have to look at all that. And like you said, Dr. Shabazz, I'm so grateful that our governor decided that he wasn't going to pull any funding for this quarter if we don't go in person. And that was going to be a major decision point for all of our districts. And I know for our district, if in 3 weeks or 3 months the COVID-19 has spiked up again and we need to pivot back to online wherever we are, we're going to do that. I'm most positive we will do the best. We'll make the best decision based on the health and safety of all of our students and our faculty members. Because if you don't have faculty members that are available to teach, then you're not gonna get any kind of education done. I know people are concerned, oh, our kids are missing out, But I know about kids that they're extremely resilient. And we create the standard for them, okay? They don't wake up in the morning and say, this is my standard. We, the leaders, make up the standard. And what I know is that this is not just local in the Houston area. This is happening all over. And you will see across the board, global standard will have to be made throughout this year. And you've seen in ACC, you're seeing it at TWU, you've seen it at all these other schools. For our graduating seniors, there's going to be I guess what you call a gap. What do you call it? I can't think of it right now, but you're going to see that kind of bridging of the gap because we're in this together. We're not in this by ourselves independently as an ISD. This is an entire world global pandemic, and you'll see those kinds of mitigations that will be made all over across the board from everyone.
Thank you, Addie. I know you have to run, so thank you for sticking around for that. We appreciate you.
Nice to meet you, Kathy and Darlene. We'll have to meet again in person. And good seeing you again, Danny. Good seeing you, twin. And Sarah, hats off to you. Thank you.
See you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Addie.
Bye.
All right. So I do want to make sure that we give Kathy an opportunity to talk to us about HISD. I know the announcement came out this afternoon. We had one of your teachers from HISD asking, like, well, what about HISD? And I told her, I said, you are coming. What people have to understand, we wear a lot of hats. That's the thing about being a leader. You wear a lot of hats and you have to multitask. So thank you for making it, because at first we weren't sure if you were going to be able to, but I just said a little prayer. And so I'm happy you came. So tell us about real quick, maybe 45 seconds, just a quick overview synopsis of what to expect from HISD, at least this first semester.
Well, thank you. And my apologies again for running so late. We were actually in a press conference. Thank you, Dr. Shabazz, for keeping everybody updating and filling in the blanks for us as well. What we can expect is Dr. Lathan explained in a press conference that, and it was very, very touching because she spoke as a mother first, and then as a mother to more than 210,000 children, and as an auntie to the teachers and the support staff, etc. But the concerns that she's had has kept her awake at night, many, many nights, about opening these schools too early. And as we all know, there's been so many variances of instructions from elected officials, and then, of course, wanted to do one thing and the state doing another thing, and we fall under the TEA. So in some instances, it looks like it's political football with our children and our teachers and students. And so people have to understand, like Dr. Shabazz touched on, that she's on the phone regularly with other superintendents, as well as with Michael Rath with the TEA and the governor, and getting a lot of different instructions. Sometimes, as the ball, like it makes you think of a track meet that the baton has been passed back down to the local level, meaning the superintendents. So because of that, the schools will start late because she's toying with this. And she said continuously her big concern is starting school and something happens, our children get sick, our teachers, our support staff, and everybody, just like you all said, we're multiple hats, but we all have families. That's what's most important. And we're trying to stay COVID safe continuously. And as part of that over 60 group, I'm trying to stay close to home, but I have concerns for my grandchildren and for all the children that are returning back to school, for all the teachers, etc. So just to summarize it, school's going to start August the 24th. So the date has been moved back. And I think that that's a wise decision, especially with us under the conditions in which we are, with the instances rising continuously. And the children will all go virtual until September I can't remember, I think it's September the 8th or the 9th. But until then, everything will be virtual. And one thing that she emphasized is, though it'll be virtual learning initially, these grades will count. So it's important that people realize that and take that into consideration and pass it on, because this is not like when we left in March or April and people just kind of fell off the radar, and the emphasis wasn't placed on logging in and HISD home and having the kids participate in school learning. So it's important to pass that on to everybody. These grades will count.
I'm putting that in the comments because that's important.
It's very important because, like I said,
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the start date, I thought HISD was going to start September the 8th.
The kids, yes.
Virtually.
But the teachers will start the 24th. They'll go back.
But what will start on the 24th?
The teachers right now are scheduled to go in.
Oh, the teachers. Okay. All right.
So she said,
I'm going to say, children are really resilient, because I'm going to be honest with you. If I think back, I probably would love this. Okay. Well, I don't have to get up every morning and go to school. But we know the value of education, and we know that we have to push it forward.
Because we know the value, that's why it's important that parents understand that they have to get these kids registered, particularly in pre-K, school, and all value. Already in to be honest, when we were out in March, I could drive to the neighborhood and our kids were playing basketball courts. And I looked at the number of schools in my district and some over there in yours too, Dr. Shabazz, because I was looking parallel. Our district sort of mirror the schools, except the school makeup is sort of mirrored. But we see these kids out there being lackadaisical and just thinking in terms of it being an early vacation. And so there again, I know it would have been after the STAR test time, but there again, we've got to ensure that parents understand the significance of these kids logging in virtually and being participative with these programs. Because though they won't be in the brick and mortar, we still cannot afford for our kids to get any further behind them than they are. And they are resilient. We can work with them, but that's going to mean that all of us are going to have to work with them. Some of the things we suggested was simple things like when you're riding in a car to tell parents, when you're riding in a car or whatever your mode of transportation is, have your kid tell you what street you're supposed to exit. Pretend like you lost, even though you know where you're going and you're 5 exits away. Have your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grader try and tell you the name of the street, read the street names to you as you're riding. Simple things. We have to think outside of the box and be creative so that our kids can still be engaged. Make it an exercise, make it a game. We just have to find ways. Hey, look, y'all, look at all of us on this video. All we know is survival. Mm-hmm. Our mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandparents, great-grandparents, for the last 400 years, all we know is survival. And so, yes, let's use those survival skills and be creative to keep our kids engaged in education.
Yeah, I thank you for that, Miss Kathy. I think it's important. A little bit while you were talking, the sound, your screen froze a little bit, but I took that as a learning lesson. The one thing, and this is what I tell my students, because I'm teaching all my classes virtually now, but I've had online classes. That advantage, you have to tell them that advantage. That advantage of the virtual is, it's not like missing class. You miss class, you miss the lesson. You miss this, you can play it back. And so for anyone who may not have seen today's show, they get to play it back. And that's one of the advantages of virtual. So parents, be patient, press pause, ask a question, press play, go back to it with your kids. You listen to it. So when you review with them,
excellent,
you already know the lesson. Yeah.
I do have a question. So excellent. Since we have Danny and Darlene,
go ahead, Portia.
I was going to ask, so Miss Kathy talked about the grades counting for HISD. So are the grades going to count for the schools within the Harris County Department of Ed and then in A-Leaf? Or is it credit, no credit?
I'm sure it's going to parallel.
Yeah,
I have no idea how they're going to do it, but you know, you can always. Go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
I think I think it seems to be the general consensus. I think the general consensus is that everybody's going to count this upcoming year. I think when everybody got out last year, well, I guess at the end of the last school year in March, we were kind of after spring break as pretty much everybody got out. So things were a little more flexible, but you can't go a whole year without grades. So I'm pretty sure everybody's going to have some form of grades where they're going to have to count. I think that's going to be across the board. I think right now it's just a matter of determining how is everybody going to go. Are they going to go in person? I think a lot of people are at minimum given the option not to go in person. So hopefully, any schools that do have in-person learning will not have won't have many kids, so there won't be a whole lot of there would be ability to social distance and still be able to do that. But I think the general premise is everybody's going to have some kind of grades this year. This is not going to be, a month or so like it was last year. This is going to be for now until COVID's under control, which we don't have an end date. It's going to have to be full grades. And anybody from other school districts is going to have to. You can chime in, but I think that's going to kind of be the consensus this year.
Is that the same for you, Dr. Bro?
Okay, remember, I haven't made it to doctor yet.
Girl, I'm claiming I have to put it out there. I did that on purpose. I'm putting it out there. We speak life.
I love it. Speak life. Speak life. And and you know what? Just to clear up something, I think I did misspeak. I said 64,000. It's 46. I twisted that around in my head. So 46,000 students. But yes, those 46,000 students need to understand school is starting. So whether it's virtually, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's going to be a blended, because quite frankly, we don't know what's going to happen if things spike again and everything, but we need our parents, our families, our students to understand that school is starting. So yes, Danny Norris, he hit that right on the head. That yes, we cannot go another year with not accepting grades, and so we need to make sure that that the district, we're holding ourselves accountable for those students who need that extra, for those students who may need to come in or need some maybe some face-to-face or someone to work directly with them. So we're keeping all of that in mind, and we want to communicate, and I'm sure every other school district is doing the same. Kathy, I'm sure you all are as well, is that these are unprecedented times. And I think what makes people feel comfortable is consistency and just going back to the normal, what's normal. And we have to understand that there is a new normal, that things do change, and we are working diligently to ensure that we're addressing everyone's needs.
Excellent.
That's a good point, Dr. Bro, because what people have to continuously realize, that's why I talked about us being survivors. We're used to being creative. That's just in our DNA. But what's going to be essential that people have to continuously realize, this COVID is a moving target. It is dictating the direction all of us are going, not only in the city, all over the country. So it's very difficult, as Dr. Bro suggested, it's very difficult to plan accordingly because we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. We don't know if it's going to peak or have another rise. We just don't know. And things could continuously change. We just have to make the adjustments where necessary.
Yeah. I know it's time to close. It's coming up on the 6 o'clock hour, but I want to offer you all a challenge. I do have my MPA from Texas Southern University. So planning is a thing that's I hold dear. I hold it dear. I've worked as a planner in education, a facilities planner for Polk County Schools, which is the 29th or was the 29th largest school district in the country. And so I have a challenge for you all. Having worked as a facilities planner, I've worked with a lot of developers when they want to bring in new housing developments and how that impacts schools. I have a challenge for you all to encourage apartment complexes and developers in your districts to adopt Wi-Fi, open Wi-Fi, if available. Just a suggestion, just to ask them, not a demand, but a soft ask.
And I'm not going to overtalk here, but that's an excellent suggestion. That will go in hand in hand with what we're planning on doing in District 2 specific, is that we're going into the apartment complexes and we're going to let the mothers know, and parents, plural, where necessary, how important it is to have those kids in pre-K and elementary school as opposed to waiting to first grade before they start school. Because once they take that third grade test, the start test, they're already behind the 8 ball. It's hard for them to catch up. So we are already, as part of I had a meeting last week with some community leaders. That is part of our plans to reach out into these apartment complexes.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I know this was a jam-packed show. We're going to have to do another conversation like this with all of our ISDs. I've actually received texts saying you forgot this ISD.
You forgot that one. Yes.
We're in another ISD. I didn't realize it was an independent school district. So blame my head, not my heart. It was not intentional, but I do certainly appreciate each of you for taking out time in your very busy schedules to come join us this evening for community. That's what this show is about. It's to bring tools, engagement, and advocacy to the community so that we can help move our people forward. We'll know exactly where the resources are found. And this recording will be available here on Facebook as well as on our YouTube page. So thank you all very much for joining us. I will email you all and hope to follow up with you all for some more partnerships. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
All right, you too.